Affordable and social housing revolution from Federal Housing Authority under the Renewed Hope Housing Agenda is on. President Bola Tinubu approved 126.5 billion naira for the delivery of a total of 100,000 houses nationwide in 18 months. This was disclosed by the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Dangiwa, during the groundbreaking ceremony for 3,112 housing units, as well as the launch of the Renewed Hope Cities and Estates in Katsina, an area in the Federal Capital Territory. Dangiwa, who revealed that the funding for the project will come from a mix of sponsors comprising the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development's budgetary allocation, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and public-private partnerships with reputable developers, also said that in the first quarter of this year, the federal government would undertake a groundbreaking of a total of 6,000 housing units. Joining us now on the morning show is Ezekiel Nya-Etok, an architect and executive director, Estate Services, Federal Housing Authority. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, and what a pleasure to be here. A privilege, I would rather say.
Well, Architect Nya-Etok, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
In fact, I was surprised when I saw your name as executive director with Federal Housing Authority. Yeah. So let's start with clarification. I know during the 2023 election, you ran for governorship in Akwa Ibom State. Yes. On the platform of the ADC, African Democratic Congress. Yeah. Are you now in APC?
I'm now in the Nigeria project.
No. Have you ported from ADC to APC?
What usually happens is after election, you leave the matters behind and all put their hands together to build the nation of our dream. So right now, I'm in the Nigeria project. And politics is such that you look at your areas of interest. And if it so happens that a president who knows I wasn't in his party looks at me and sees me as a sector expert and asks me to join to build the Nigeria project, I think it's only commonsensical that as time goes on, I would look at a way of appreciating that trust he's had in me and doing what is in the best interest of my nation first. And if it means joining the APC, I really wouldn't even think twice about it. But if joining the APC adds no value to the system and being where I am shows him as a man that is accommodating and goes for excellence, and it would serve the better interest of this nation for me to be outside any other platform, I think Nigeria will always be the one that comes first.
Thank you for that clarification. After all, professionally, you're an architect.
Yes, sir.
And you are in the Federal Housing Authority, yes, in charge of estates. And President Tinubu has consistently said the time of campaigns is over. Now it's time for governance, and let us all come together and build. Yes, so you are, a good example of, somebody in ADC now in the Nigerian project. But yes, Renewed Hope Cities is also Tinubu's project.
Yes.
It's one of the things he promised in the Renewed Hope agenda. Now, the government is saying 100,000 houses in 18 months. Yeah. That was announced originally, I think, about 2 months ago. Yeah. So where are we now with it? And, the money, do we have the money? Yeah. Is it deliverable in 18 months?
The very first thing is that from what I've seen in the past less than 3 weeks, we've been there for a little over a month, but past 3 weeks, I think that I have reason to be extremely hopeful that we'll do more than what the target was. The reason is that first, we have the market. Second, we have the political will. The market has always been there, but the political will has not been always there. And the political will has been based on misunderstanding of the role of housing in an economy. And in a way that I find very reassuring, Mr. President has come up in a way that we really didn't expect. Number one was creating an independent ministry. We've always had this works and housing. And once it was a terrible marriage because Works was always the husband And housing was not even a wife, it was like a housemaid, okay? But now we're a full ministry. The second was the appointment of a minister. We have a man who is not just an architect, but he was a former MD of Federal Mortgage Bank, meaning that he has an understanding of the industry at a wider scale. Then the third was, I would say with every sense of responsibility and humility, the constitution of the excos of the two parastatals of the housing ministry, which is the Federal Mortgage Bank and the Federal Housing Authority. For the first time, I would say, there is a consideration of fit for purpose and excellence far above political patronage. And then because of that, the tripartite were able to have a synergy, an understanding of the essence. So the drive has been holistic from the ministry, from Federal Mortgage Bank, from Federal Housing Authority. I think that Nigeria is in to see a revolution, probably for the first time in a long time in housing.
All right, brilliant. That's really good to hear. Now, as just to follow up from Dr. Bati's question, yes. On February 2024, the president had the groundbreaking ceremony for the first 3,112 housing units in Kasana area. Yeah. Can you tell us what's the update? I mean, it's 1 month after that. I know, at least in terms of building. And then where's the next location?
Okay. When we talk holistically about housing delivery, for instance, the Kasana project is coordinated by the ministry. But because of the way we work today, we're working like a team. So though it's coordinated by the ministry under consultants, we're having a synergy, a working relationship with them. And I can say that if you go to the site, you'll be impressed with the level of work that is going on right now. So the Kasana project is going. Not only that, about a month ago, or a little less than a month ago, I was brought to Lagos to look at the second site that they wanted Mr. President to go in. And as at that time, I'd already joined the Federal Housing Authority, because before then I was in the presidential committee, the Renewed Hope agenda, housing delivery team. But by this time, I'd already come into the Federal Mortgage Bank. But they still asked that the Federal Housing Authority be part of the team that came here. So what am I saying? That particular team of the Renewed Hope agenda, coordinated housing delivery, coordinated by the ministry, is going beyond Kasana. They're going beyond Lagos. They are going to every other part. And then in Federal Housing Authority, where I can speak more authoritatively on as one of the people there, what has been achieved in the past 2 weeks is unprecedented. We are blessed to have somebody that has this level of energy and drive and passion that I never expected. In about 2 weeks, we have been to 10 states. Each state addressing the governors, sitting down, having very, very robust engagement, and the governors in each of them making a definitive statement. Some of them saying, I want the letter today before you leave here, and I want they'll call the Commissioner of Lands in the state, or the man in charge of lands and everything, and the governor will say, I want this project to be cited here. I want the CFO or letter of exchange for me to sign in less than 48 hours. It's that specific, including Lagos State. When we came to Lagos State, there's no land in Lagos State, but the Lagos State governor says, a Federal Housing Authority, I'm going to give you people land. We have this MD that he calls himself the roadmaster, and he really is. I'll give you an example. On Thursday, we took off by 1 o'clock to Kaduna, met the state governor for 4 o'clock appointment. By 6 o'clock, we were on our way to Kano. The next day, we met the state governor. That same day, we were back to Abuja. And then it's like we spread ourselves between the ED and the MD and the 4 EDs. We spread ourselves and everywhere. Look, I'm right here today. And as I'm here in Lagos, because we're looking at our first tag, which is one of our projects, we are going back to all Federal Housing Authority estates. And we're making sure that They're all revamped, revitalized, and repositioned to look like what an estate should be. Estate management, coordinating everything. So as I'm here, the ED, business development, and ED finance, they are out there getting the funds for what we are going to do. The ED project implementation is already working out what we're going to have in next land. So the next phase is like going on this breaking, the groundbreaking and everything to make sure that we meet the target and surpass the target because of what housing means, not only to Nigerians, but to the economy of Nigeria.
All right. So, I mean, excited to see you. When you came in,
yes,
I'll go back to Dr. Ahmed's question because I need a lot of clarifications because you politicians confuse me a lot. So that's why I can't be a politician. I'm sorry, with due respect.
Okay.
Okay, this was the same you in 2021 that said you'll never return to the APC or PDP all of that.
I've never been in APC.
I mean, you will never have anything to do with them. Even in the last election, we know how you campaigned vigorously against this APC and say they can't solve the problem, it's same of same. Yes. I remember your spirited articles. You shared them with me. All of a sudden, the article stopped recently. So, the question is, what changed for you?
I'll tell you.
Is it because is it because President Tinubu called you that all of a sudden you just did a 360? Because I see some of your articles on my WhatsApp. That's number one.
That's number one. Okay.
Because I like to get the ideology right. Because what changed? We're in the trenches. Secondly, now let's talk about affordable housing for people.
Yes.
I understand the gamut of what you're doing, and it's very laudable.
Yes.
But most of these houses, you and I will still find it difficult to get.
That's right.
Because when you look at the grand scheme of things, you can't build enough of these houses. So, and there are many people on the waiting list. There are many people that will buy and resell. How can low earners in society get mortgage to be able to acquire land and build their own, apart from all these model estates? I think that's another conversation we should have.
Okay.
But at first, let's get the philosophy. Okay. Because I don't get it. What changed?
I'll tell you this. About 11 years ago, when Madam Okonjo-Iweala was the CME, we're in Hilton having a program, and I was talking to somebody, and I didn't know she was behind me. So she came around, said, "Excuse me, what you just said, can you put it in 3 minutes maximum in a video for me?" That video, that resulted in what I call My Nigeria, which if you Google, you find on the My Nigeria video. That statement is exactly where I am today, and I've not changed over the period. And what is that? Nigeria made me. Nigeria, I owe Nigeria. And if you read everything I say, it's been consistent. I should have been a palm wine tapper in the village. I should have been a nobody. But this country gave me the best education anybody could have, Federal Government College, Warri, and that changed my life completely. So my passion is not for any party. My passion is for Nigeria. And I've followed housing for the past 30 years. I ran the longest running program on NTA Channel 10 in Lagos here with Patrick Doyle, Real Estate This Week. And when I read my retirement, a man looked at me and said, "Guy, for what you've done over the years, can you come and bring your experience to bear?" And then I start to talk of political party. That would be insane. And number two, my guy, let me say something that will shock you. The first day I addressed the people in my directorate, I said, I'm sitting here today, and if my sitting here is for me to acquire houses and enlarge myself, may it not be well with me till I die. But if I'm coming here to look at what I can give and offer to Nigerians to make a difference, may it be well with me. When I said in Jesus' name, the people were scared to say amen. I said, I'm talking about myself, so don't be scared. But let's come to the issue of affordable housing.
Just to double up on that, I remember one of your 2019 engagement where you said, the APC is bereft of any discernible ideology. And it's pretty much the same with the PDP.
Yes.
So the same people that are bereft of any discernible ideology.
People come to you and ask you to bring Is that not being...
So they have ideology now?
No, that's not the point. They've said, we want to build Nigeria. We want the people that can have something to offer. Sir, you have something to offer in housing. Can you bring it to me? And I say, oh, you are bereft of ideas. That's being insane. That's being unpatriotic. That doesn't make sense. That's self-serving. I could say it anytime, any day. I still think that our political parties lack ideology, but we have a country.
Lack ideology.
Yes, I say it, APC, PDP, including ADC that I was in. We have a country to serve, and we must look beyond politics. Okay. We must think in terms of nation building. What can I do? And God has blessed me in the area of housing. And then the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says, Guy, come and do that thing you've been talking. And I say, oh no, you are bereft of idea. That means I hate this country. Okay. I won't do that.
Okay, so let's talk about affordable housing. The affordable housing for the very poor people that might not be able to live in this estate, but they just need little cash,
yes.
5-10 million.
I'll tell you two things. First thing is that in this country, I'm blessed to be called Mr. Social Housing. I've carried it for 30 years and I've worked on it all my life. And today, social housing is a department in my directorate. So the question is, what is possible? The very first thing is that on account of that, social housing is subsidized housing. It's not low-income housing. Subsidized housing. It's so bad that Mr. President lives in social housing because he has 100% subsidy in his housing. Or governors live in subsidized housing. That's the technique. It's not inferior housing because if you look at housing from two perspectives, the very first is that the Constitution, Chapter 2, Section 14, subsection 2b says that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. At the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have food, clothing, and shelter, which is housing, which means that housing is one of the fundamental needs, and the security and welfare of Nigerians shall. So housing has to become a social infrastructure where government says, this is what I want to do in housing. That is why when Mr. President does what he's done in housing, there are 1, 2, 3 things that Nigerians...
So what are the things you're going to do for those
1, 2, 3 things. Number one is that putting up Federal Housing Authority makes it possible for us to get lands. That's number one.
Okay.
In housing delivery, there are 1, 2, 3 basic fundamentals. You need land, you need the technology to build, you need the funds, okay? You deliver the houses, that's one hand. What makes it affordable is that the land that you could have collected from 5 million from government, and you get it from the second-hand seller at 50 million, already puts pressure on the delivery cost of that house. So he says, government, please try and make this land affordable or available. Okay. That controls cost. Number two, he says, I'm going to make certain level of budgetary allocation so that it can help to facilitate, stimulate, and bring others.
So which, is there money on ground?
Which he has already done, yes, in the budget.
126
billion to start with.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how bad it is.
That might not be enough for
if you take an average of, say, about 5 million per house, 126 billion can only give you less than 25,000 housing units. But it is a stimulant. What we need at this point are a combination of factors. Number one, to be able to get the private sector to play in the housing sector, and then government.
So how do I apply for that part of that 126 billion?
One of the biggest things that we are doing, we have a very, I hate to sound sycophantic, but this young man, who is our MD, has made me to really come to respect him because of the way he's put things for us to follow. One of the things you are going to hear very, very soon, we are creating the most robust platform for people to express their needs on the basis of which we come back to have proper planning. You don't just build for building's sake. You build to plan, you build to specifications, you build to location, which is what we are doing in every state with respect to...
Architect.
Yes, sir. Architect. Yes, sir.
Well, it's good that the issue with you politically is about ideology.
Yes.
Some people describe the APC as cancer personified.
Yes.
And they have since embraced the cancer.
Yeah.
In fact, they are now saying cancer is very good for the human body. So we've seen, but let's just concentrate on the subject.
Thank you, sir.
Now, under President Buhari,
yes, sir.
Nigerians were promised 1 million houses.
Yes.
Now, that administration didn't deliver up to 10,000 houses.
Thank you, sir.
Now, all these things you are saying, we have had all these things before.
Yes, sir.
You know, a government comes, we're going to do mass housing, we're going to do social housing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, has there been an audit of what happened under the Buhari administration and lessons that the Federal Housing Authority can learn from the inability of that administration to deliver 1 million houses?
I'll tell you, the first thing that was done was that the minister set up a special, about 4 different committees and gave us 8 weeks. What we had to do was to audit everything that has been done in the past and why it failed. The second thing we did was breaking it up into implementation processes. Before I came, I was actually the chairman of one of the subcommittees, which was had to do with strategy, before I moved into Federal Housing Authority. Number one, my brother and friend and Oga Abati, there has never been in the history of this country a situation where either the the Minister of Housing or the MD of FHA would go to 9 states in 2 weeks with a target as soon as we come back of meeting the rest of the states, and in each of them sitting down and having a working session with the management team, not as an individual. It has never happened. It means these are people who think, look, they've been using housing as means of getting money and politicking, speaking loud and saying nothing. And we go by road. This is, unprecedented. But you see, Nigerians need to know this. Sorry?
You use escort.
Yeah, we use escort. But it's unprecedented because Nigerians, I know how you feel. I've been on this for the past 30 years. So I understand and I agree with you. But now Nigerians need to, I think it was Winston Churchill that says that hope is the anchor that stabilizes the soul. Nigerians need to start to hear that there's something different that is happening and then see it practically, on account of which the skepticism will move to a level of a glimmer of hope. And when they actually start to see the groundbreakings happening and the buildings starting to come up, then the hope will translate into, tangible realities that they can hold on. So I quite agree on the way you feel, because I've heard this before myself. But being in there, I feel an interview like this is one of the best things that Arise has done amongst the many things you do, because every morning I see the effort you make to highlight things so that Nigerians can say, okay. And secondly, they need to understand that politics is over, at least for this year, and probably early 2025, before the primaries start early 2026. Let us go into nation building so that somewhere along the line, the best thing I can offer Mr. President is that in 2026, when he starts, campaigning to get his ticket, he will, in every state he goes to, commission estates that have been built by Federal Housing Authority.
Well, on that note, Architect Nya-Etok would like to thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.